Don, it's late. I'm up. How the heck are you guys? Good to see you. Today we are going to be tonight we are going to be watching the John Carpenter classic Escape from New York. I am your special guest host, Nick Fury. I will be watching this on Amazon Prime, but it has commercials. Mm. I did a little pre-reconnaissance on it. Reconnaissance. I checked it out earlier, and apparently there's a commercial up front that's like 2-3 minutes, and then there's one that's like I don't know, 3 minutes in the middle or something. So not that bad. We can deal with it. But yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Big fan of Escape from New York. Not as much of Escape from L.A. We'll talk about that as we go along. Talk about Carpenter. Talk about Kurt Russell and Carpenter. Talk about Snake Plissken and how awesome he is. He rules, right? Right. I agree. Call him Snake. Most people think he's dead. Anyways, how are you guys doing? Um, I I've been wanting to do this one for a while. This is another one that's been on my bucket list to crank out for the channel. So no time like the present, right? Hey, my friend Anthony Chabot is here. Welcome, Anthony. Nice to see you. Yo, I'm to 2014 in memoirs, and the next movie is Megan. Oh yeah, that's right. You can see Megan 2.0. You'll have to let me know how that is. I wasn't sure if it was going to be good or not. The first one I was lukewarm on. We'll have to see if I'm into the second one. Nice eye patch. Thank you. I've seen this movie 1,000 times and I love it. Welcome, Michael Coulter. Yeah, I love this movie. This one was a classic when I was a kid. It hit me at right about the perfect age. I think it was like 8 when I saw it. So, this is ideal. This and The Warriors I saw real close to each other. So I was just convinced the world was like this scary apocalyptic place at night. I'm up to 880 subs on YouTube channel. Well, congratulations. I know you work your butt off on everything you do, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or wherever. So feel free to investigate deeper into our friend Anthony Chabot. He's quite the entertaining fella. I saw this during the pandemic. Oh, really? You never saw it until a couple years ago, huh? This one I saw very young, and it's been on like my favorite list all throughout my life. Like whenever the new releases at the video store weren't that good, it's always like rerun Escape from New York. Um, Same with cable. This was always on cable. It was a classic. Like it was, middle of the night, you're flipping through channels, especially TBS and stuff. So yeah, I've seen this movie more times than I can remember. Not to mention, I owned the VHS. I owned the DVD. I later bought the nice special edition DVD that came with like a comic book for Snake Plissken, and it has like all these like making ofs and commentaries and stuff. And then later on, I bought the Blu-ray, and it was the exact same thing as the special edition DVD, just a generic Blu-ray. Damn it. Um, well, let's see here. Watched Vice Academy today. It was awesome. Oh, I'd be interested in checking that out. Brianna liked it. I sent the old songs to her. Oh, that's very sweet of you. You are quite the romantic. All right, so my movie has started. I've been secretly watching the commercials with one eye while I've been getting this going. So there's the Studio Canal logo. This must be like a modern day post-production company because I don't know if that was even around back then. And here's the start of the movie. Why are you taking so long? There it is. Avco Embassy Pictures International present. I like how John Carpenter has his own font. You know what I mean? Like all the Carpenter films have like that same kind of like, I don't know, it might even be Roman or something. I don't know, whatever. It's got the funky sharp edges, whether it's this and Halloween, Prince of Darkness, I think has that same kind of one. It's the John Carpenter font. Christine, I think, had it. Once again, Carpenter stuff. This is like same as The Thing, black screen with white title cards. You know, real sort of get you into the movie while you listen to a Carpenter score, right? The Carpenter scores are the best, especially this one. This is one of my favorite all-time Carpenter scores. It never gets old. Anthony says, thanks for his shout out, presumably. Well, you are welcome, my friend. I always enjoy being buddies with you. You got something cool to say. You always let me know people's birthdays and whatnot. There's Isaac Hayes' title card. Man, I love Isaac Hayes. In this, he just kills it. Like, I can't think of better casting than him. What are you going to get? Barry White, have his big ass out there. Still on the title cards. Yeah, this one came out in 81, I believe it was. And the first time I remember seeing it, like, yeah, I was probably 8 or 9 because it was on TV. I never saw it in the theater. Uh, watched it over and over my entire life. Always loved Snake Plissken. I remember when Escape from LA came out, I was so pumped. I was like, oh, I can't wait, more Snake Plissken. And it was just so campy and silly. This one is so serious and dark, and like it's right there with like almost Die Hard. The hero is a very kind of, I don't know, he's super competent, but he's not like overly prepared for everything. He runs into problems and he has to figure out how to deal with them. Music by John Carpenter. Ginger says, "Call me Snake. You got something on your eye." Yeah, I do got something on my eye. I decided to dress up like Nick Fury for tonight's show. Oh, Anthony Chabot. People are like, "Yo, everybody loves each other. Nice to see you, folks." Welcome, Jason. Our friend Ginger Ninja is here. We're still on the title cards. Um, that's one of the things about Carpenter, these slow build-ups where you listen to his score and they just kind of rise and it gets you into the world and ready for what you're going to see. And there's directed by John Carpenter, so I think this is where it fades out when we come into the new one. There it is. 1988 is when everything falls apart. The crime rate in the United States rises 400%. This narrator up front, this is Jamie Lee Curtis's voice. She's listed in the, let's see who they got listed here. Here they have her, they say it's Deborah Hill, which is one of the producers, and she worked with Carpenter for a long time and everything. And but really, this is Jamie Lee Curtis. It's just she took less than the actor's scale, especially at that point. She was kind of half a big star, so for her to do this, the money that would be required for her whatnot, union stuff. So she did sort of this secret voiceover on the beginning that explains how Manhattan, the crime rate in the world's gone insane, so they turned Manhattan into a prison. They built a wall around it. These old school graphics are fantastic. I guess most of this they just did by making models and then putting tape around it. Mhm. Let me know in the chat uh, if you've seen this movie, how many times you've seen this movie, if you love it, you hate it, what you thought of Escape from LA. I'd love to hear thoughts on this one. Like I say, this one's fantastic. So there, now 1997, now. So this is one of the classic sci-fi movies where they just over predict how soon things are going to go bad. So we pass up things like Blade Runner and Escape from New York and all that. It's like that old Conan O'Brien bit in the year 2000. In the year 2000. So here we see Liberty Island is like where the warden of the prison is, and apparently they had like just unlimited access to Liberty Island, and they were able to shoot there like for a long time with no trouble or whatever. But supposedly they got a lot of good footage and everything from there. Oh, the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury, right? Love Escape from LA too. Thought it was pretty good. See, I didn't like it. It was too campy for me. I really dug the seeing Snake back, but even his outfit was just slightly askew and like he played Snake the same way, but the story was a little more campy. It's pretty much this almost beat for beat. There's like, the terrorist thing and the woman up front who's in the cockpit of the plane and all this stuff. So there's a bunch of this stuff that's very similar. But it took too much time poking fun at LA. Like, I don't feel like this one takes that much time to make fun of New York, other than the fact that, the concept that Manhattan's a prison. Supposedly they're talking about making a third one. Carpenter's always threatened it. I don't know if he ever would. They make a bunch of comic books. I've only read, like I said, when I bought the DVD, that one came with a sample comic book of a Snake Plissken adventure or whatever, and that was kind of cool. But I have a actually, you know what? I do. I have Snake Plissken meets Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China, a crossover comic book. Jesus, I always smack the microphone whenever I do that motion. I got to be careful. So yeah, there's one of those shots of Liberty Island. Yeah, they got soldiers all up by the statue and everything. That's pretty cool. So here's the man I've been waiting for. This is Tom Atkins. I love me some Tom Atkins. the first horror convention I ever went to, I kind of got there early and we're walking around looking at like, some of the people and, getting set up and putting out their little 8x10s and things to sign. And I'm looking around and I see Tom Atkins, and I'd seen him in a bunch of things. I love him in Halloween 3, but he has a bunch of like small roles. He's in Lethal Weapon. He's awesome in Night of the Creeps. So I look over and I'm looking at him, just like it's weird to see Tom Atkins just in person, just sitting there chilling at a table, right? So he's kind of looking at me, and nobody's really coming to his table. Nothing's going on. There's no action for Atkins, right? So I'm like, well, shit, I'm gonna go over and Tom Atkins ain't doing nothing. I can probably strike up a conversation with him. So I did, and immediately, he was very friendly, and we took a picture together, and I was talking to him about movies, and I was explaining how I liked Halloween 3 so much, and I thought it was like a James Bond movie where he's James Bond, he's this dude that has to save the world from this evil megalomaniacal maniac guy, right? So he kind of was digging that I was elevating his career and all that. So then he like perked up. He got all happy, and then he asked my friend, he's like, "Can you take another picture of us? I just don't know if I was ready for that first one. I want to make sure I get a good one with my friend Don." I was like, "No shit, he not only remembers my name, we're friends apparently." So we're talking for a minute, and then somebody else comes over and asks to get a picture, and he realizes that me and him standing there talking made him look alive and vibrant and somebody fun to go bullshit with. So his table kind of built up after that. So I wandered away and let him get his pictures in and stuff. And then for the rest of the day, whenever I'd come by the section where Atkins was, he'd kind of like look at me and give me like a thumbs up, like, that's my guy. And then like late in the day, like 6 at night or something, when people were all left and everything, I remember he's like, "Hey, Don." I was like, "Tom Atkins. Yeah, you remember my name." So to this day, I'm a big Atkins fan. Whenever I see him, I'm like, that's my guy. It's my buddy Tom. So he's one of the prison guards in this, or basically the assistant warden to Lee Van Cleef. So here's where we first see Snake. In the original cut of this, there was this whole like bank robbery scene where they're like getting onto a future train and it's underground and stuff. It's in the deleted scene footage. I see why they cut it. It's not needed. All they really do, you get to meet Fresno Bob and some of the other backstory stuff. So here's Lee Van Cleef. Most people know him from like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and a bunch of those like spaghetti westerns and stuff. I mostly know Lee Van Cleef from when I was a kid, this show called The Master. Where he played a ninja, of course, old man white Lee Van Cleef with a bald head, and the hair around the sides, looking like Lobot from Empire Strikes Back. But no, of course, this old cowboy looking dude with squinty eyes, he's a ninja. And he was training, I don't know, Timothy Van Patten or somebody. I think Mystery Science Theater did the pilot episode, like whatever the movie version of the show was. But yeah, Lee Van Cleef is always an honorary ninja every time I see him. Let's go see what's going on here. In the chat where he says, the third one was Ghosts of Mars. They retooled it because the original was Escape from Earth. Oh, okay. Yeah. I also feel like Escape from Mars has a real Assault on Precinct 13 vibe to it. Sorry, the mouth's not mouthing. There are periods of the show where the mouth just refuses to mouth, right? It's got a lot of Assault on Precinct 13 in it. Son of a. So yeah, like I feel like a lot of the Carpenter stuff shows up in there, but I could see how what is the Jason Statham role or the Ice Cube role. Dude, you look great. What a film. Papa Goss. Nice to see you. It's my friend, Papa Goss. Uh, he travels around and looks at different he's a big collector, like our friend Larry, the horror cat dad, except he does all the Pop Funko stuff and a variety of other things. He's a fun, cool dude. I recommend you check out his channel. I wish I could be booked into cons. Someday, my friend. People are saying for a hi to Papagaz, they're saying yo to Anthony. So we see the president's plane getting taken over. And of course, Donald Pleasance is the president because like John Carpenter is one of these people who has like some directors have like a repertory company. Certain Tarantino movies, who's going to be in it, like Samuel L. Jackson and Michael Madsen and stuff. And then like Christopher Nolan, you're going to get like some people who just keep turning it up in all his movies, Cillian Murphy or whatever. So in a John Carpenter movie, Donald Pleasance is just going to always turn up. So of course he's the president because who better to be president? He's like so well, except for the fact he's British, but that's and even in a lot of this, he has like a strange British accent, which makes it hard for him to be taken seriously as the president. Apparently, Donald Pleasance came to John Carpenter and told him like some big backstory about how this dude with a British accent ended up president, but Carpenter was like, "Sure, sure, just do what you need to do." Not enough Ernest Borgnine coming back in Carpenter movies. He needed to be used more often as possible. I dig this. So here they're putting the president in the escape hatch, right? Like his plane's been taken over. The plane's about to crash into the island. That's the premise of the movie. If you haven't seen this before, the island of Manhattan's a prison. There's a big wall around it, and the people can't escape. It's like Alcatraz except Manhattan. So the president's plane crash lands into Manhattan, right into the World Trade Center. He, um, no, it's not the World Trade Center, but that's like where I think that is. No, no. But that's where Snake Plissken lands his glider later. Um, so there we see the plane crash into it, and they use these old janky Atari-looking computer graphics, and you see the pod go into it. And the president's pod is so awesome. Like you can tell it was like late 70s, early 80s idea of futuristic. It's an egg, right? Because what would you do to put a person in? You put him safe in a little egg. Looks like Mork from Mork. His cube was supposed to be Snake. Yay, yay! Call me yay, yay! But wasn't Arnold the president in Demolition Man? Yeah, right. Well, that was kind of the thing. That's one of the things I was talking about Demolition Man. I completely forgot about that. Like where they mentioned that Arnold's the president and he's in real life he ended up governor of California. And when Trump won, all these celebrities went into the Oprah and all these folks did this like fact-finding research to see if they had a chance to be president. The Rock, I know, did. And Schwarzenegger was one. He was trying to figure out a way that how the hell do I get around this and get to be president? Once again, proving Demolition Man is a documentary, and eventually we're all going to be wiping our butts with three seashells. So here we see the helicopters land, and this part is awesome. I remember as a kid, this held my interest like laser vision. These helicopters land, these kind of SWAT team looking dudes get out, and they're hunting for the president. And then this crazy street man pops out with the wild hair, and he's got big high cheekbones, and he looks like a nut. And you see that the people who live in this old deserted prison island are just crazy. What's that Ray Liotta one? No Escape or something like that, where they all live on a prison island. It's kind of like that, except it's Manhattan. Once again, the Carpenter score, all sorts of I guess they used a very special camera, like one of the first times they ever used this specific camera for filming. Uh, a lot of this is at night and it's super dark. Like even this, all the soldiers have black uniforms, black helmets. It's in the middle of night. Like it should be really hard to see. Anybody who's ever played with a video camera on their phone knows it's difficult to get, dark shots, no light. So he used like a special camera that like was able to get shots in the dark. That's why so much of this looks so, I don't know, dark and contrasty. Like it still is shadowy and dark while being at night, but they don't have to do day for night or any of that crap. It just looks great. So here's the part I was talking about. This character's named Romero, and named after George Romero because John Carpenter's a huge George Romero fan. And this dude's, I think his name's Frank Doubleday, and I've seen him like around at conventions or whatever, or previously. And his daughter Portia Doubleday was the blonde girl in um, Mr. Robot, like the main lady on the show. And it's funny when I look at him, I can see that in her. He's crazy looking. He looks kind of like Michael Biehn. For a long time, I thought that was. So there, the crazy guy from the street comes out and he shows them, we've got the president, and if you want proof, here's his finger with the president's, official ring on with the seal of the president on it. And he tells them, you got to get out of here. You got 30 seconds. If you don't, I'm going to go back and kill him. So we just see all these like SWAT dudes, like these stormtroopers, like run away scared. Once again, black helicopters at night. Should be super hard to see all this, but nope, looks great. So there's some more stuff with computer graphics in the background. One of the uh, one of the effects people who worked on getting the things to look the way they do, especially matte paintings, was this dude nobody's ever heard of named James Cameron. And it's funny because I always feel like the first Terminator, in particular, has a lot of John Carpenter vibe to it. Like it feels almost like a cousin to a Carpenter movie. After that, Cameron's style changes. Terminator 2 looks nothing like Terminator 1 and doesn't have that feel, but even the score and some of it, it's very Carpenter. Oh, that wireframe actually filmed, not CGI. Angela. Hello, lovely Miss Night Owl. Angela is the woman on Mr. Robot. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. That is my lovely better half, Kayla. Thank you for popping in, dear. It's nice to see you. She's currently in the back room taking care of our daughter, who is unfortunately has her father's disease of being a night owl, and she's up in the middle of the night wanting to hang out. And if she could, she would be out here watching Snake right now. Speaking of Snake, this is the first real. Prior to this, we've only seen Snake like Hannibal Lecter. He's just being guarded by like 10 dudes and walk through hallways like he's this, world's most dangerous man. But now here, when he's in this office alone with Lee Van Cleef, and we see Van Cleef get like a gun out and load it, like just in case Snake snaps. You got to be careful. And this is where we get the first time of many classic lines where he's like, "Call me Snake." Where is my subtitles? I'm not seeing. Uh, you're killing me. There we are. Thank you. English. All right. So why aren't you playing for me? There we go. So yeah, Lee Van Cleef introduces himself, Bob Hawke, and this is an awesome framed shot. This is the Matrix kind of steals this same shot. The two of them are sitting in these big leather chairs, one on each side of the frame, and then there's the desk in between them to show like the classic two opposing sides with a divide between them. Movies do it all the time. Like when couples in movies fight, there's always the scene of them with some sitting far apart with something between them. So it's to kind of let the audience psychologically know these two are totally separate individuals. But they're both badasses. Like basically, Kurt Russell's doing a Clint Eastwood impersonation. So everything's just real cool. Call me Snake. And then Lee Van Cleef is he worked with Clint Eastwood, so he's basically can do the same type of thing. Just the squinty-eyed, steely, man's man, tough guy. Although I do like same with the master. He's got that one little just gold hoop earring. It just says something about him. He's like, I'm this total badass, but I'm also in touch with my sexuality. Leave me alone. Hello, good evening. Thank you, love. She's a monster, but she's calmed down watching Daddy. Oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, last time when I was doing Friday the 13th, I believe it was, or was it Fight Club? The baby was very fascinated by me on the big screen and in the other room and kept trying to climb over mom to get at me. It's like, Tata. Oh yeah, top three JC movie for me. Yeah, I love this escape one. Welcome, Sean from Cinephile World Order. Welcome, my friend. Glad to see you. Hello, Don and everyone in the chat. Yes, welcome, Sean. Sean's the man. Sean joined us the other night when we were doing Fight Club. Sean and I have been friends for a long time here. When I first started doing live streams, me and Sean became buddies. One of my OG pals. I like how in the early 80s, the idea that eventually smoking would be banned just couldn't occur to John Carpenter. Carpenter did not want to live in a world where you couldn't smoke cigarettes indoors. So people all through this are just smoking cigarettes. So here they give Snake the Batman utility belt. He's got like the big ass gun and the that hangs on his side, and he gets the little transponder thing. He gets the Wonder Woman timer thing with the little American Eagle on it. They sort of turn him into like this janky superhero. But like here, once again, I like that he's got the Indiana Jones brown beat up kind of bomber jacket, sort of like, well, I mean, it's a motorcycle style, but as opposed to Escape from LA, where he's got like the big long trench coat and it's kind of a pleathery look and it's got a texture to it, like a crisscross. And then same, I don't know, his outfit looks real sleek. And here, I kind of like he's got the camouflage pants. You could tell he was, just in the war that apparently happened. So this is one of the most brilliant devices in movie history. I don't know why every action movie just doesn't have this same exact scene. One of the things you do to add stakes to it, like a movie you want suspense and action to, is add a ticking clock, right? If the audience knows we got to get this done by this time, there's an urgency. We can't stop. We got to keep going because the clock is ticking, bro. So they just go ahead and just stick two little tiny bombs in this dude's neck, and if he doesn't get back in time with the president, they go off and kill him. That was brilliant. One of the things also too that a lot of people know this movie, but they don't know this movie is fans of Metal Gear. Solid Snake is a reference to Snake Plissken, and there's a lot of stuff in Metal Gear because the dude even looked like Michael Biehn. Um, but like, yeah, this the Solid Snake is a reference to Snake Plissken. So there's the part where he injects his neck, and Snake's like, "What'd you do to me?" He thought he gave him like whatever, some sort of vitamins or booster shot to not get infection from whatever's going on inside that weird prison. But instead, he realizes it's two little microcapsules that are going to explode. Love the eye patch. Thank you. I appreciate it. Every now and then, that's one of the things I miss. I frequently would do sort of weird cosplay on a lot of these shows I was watching. And then when I was moving around so much and I was living in hotels and stuff, I didn't have all my silliness with me. So my poor wife had to watch me dig through stuff looking for my eye patch. It's around here somewhere. Honey, have you seen my eye patch? So there's Snake, immediately snaps and starts trying to choke Lee Van Cleef, and well, Bob Hawke is his name in this. Um, that's a kind of a half a tribute. Carpenter's a favorite director is Howard Hawks. Um, uh, he Howard Hawks was the producer on the original Thing. A lot of people say he directed it. This other dude, Christian Nyby, directed it. The Thing from Another World or whatever. Um, So Carpenter was a big Howard Hawks fan and really thought Howard Hawks did all that. So I think Bob Hawke is actually kind of a tribute, even though it's spelled slightly different. But so here's Snake ready for action. This is kind of cool too. This is a memorable scene we don't get a lot of. This maybe in a James Bond movie, but they need to get Snake into New York and they can't fly over it and all this because the local gangs will see the planes or whatever. So they need to go in quietly. So he goes in a glider. So they have this plane take off and pull up the glider. This is another thing. Carpenter apparently, much like Harrison Ford, is into planes and stuff, and they're both into gliders. So since Carpenter was into the glider, he wrote that into the script. This one written by Carpenter, directed by Carpenter, score by Carpenter, produced by Carpenter. But I dig these more. This is his independent like phase. He's mostly always relatively independent until he did the Thing and a little bit Christine. But the times he goes like big studio like The Invisible Man, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, um, stuff like that, that's not his strongest work. But when he's allowed to kind of keep a studio off his back to do his own thing and he keeps his production budget low, he makes some pretty damn awesome movies. This, The Thing, They Live, uh, In the Mouth of Madness, those are all some of like my favorite movies. I could watch those over and over and over. And of course, classic OG Halloween. But the problem is that one's I've seen it too many times at this point. When I was a kid, they used to play it every Halloween and back before home media and physical media, and you just watched what was on TV or what was on cable. Every Halloween, I made sure to catch Halloween. So for like a decade there, it was like Yeah, I don't know. I'm Michael Myers out. I think that was part of the reason I liked Halloween 3. It was like, oh, it's finally something different. The only person on Earth who felt that way. So yeah, here's the part I was talking about earlier where he's flying and we see the cityscape that he's like going through the hang glider through, and he's going to land on the top of the World Trade Center. They did it by building models, building a little miniature scale of New York, and then putting reflective tape all over the edges. And then they turn the lights off and they push the camera through with like black light or whatever. So on the computer screen, it looks like it's these funky ass early 3D graphics. And instead, it really is just like a live action, very Sin City. Guys, everything good with the family. Also happy to see you doing streams again more often. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Yeah, um I missed it. I miss talking movies with folks. I miss the community, horror community, always cool. So many folks. Larry, you, um, Rob's Vintage Video, Gareth from Video Tasties. There's so many folks that I'm just miss talking to and like seeing on a frequent basis. So couldn't leave it alone. Couldn't quit the game. Game needs me, Sean. So there's Snake is crash landed his plane and it almost went off the edge, but he did like the old spy hunter move or whatever. He shot out this grappling hook that kept him from going over the edge. I dig this. This is all, like I say, James Bond. He's like this weird combination of James Bond and Indiana Jones, but he's not as bougie as them. He's like this kind of war hero guy, but he's still not like infallible. He's badass, but he's kind of almost John McClane-ish. Things do hurt him. There's more consequences to him than the big giant muscle bound ass kicker He-Man type. So here he's, going on the roof of the World Trade Center, and then he's gotten in the elevator and he's headed down, and he's explaining that he's not going to be able to use the glider to get back. We are at the 29-minute mark. Like I said, I'm watching this one on Amazon Prime. It says with commercials, but when I checked on it earlier, it's like, no, there's like 3 minutes of commercials to start, and then somewhere in the midway point, there's 3 minutes of commercials. So we can fight through that one. I've been watching so much damn stuff on Tubi. I'm used to commercials again. It's like, what are you gonna do? They happen. Once again, here's another shot that should be like almost completely invisible. It's him in pitch black darkness walking through an alley, and now in the shadows, and you can still see him clear. Like, I don't know, amazing. And then this also has a lot of Panaglide work, which is like a um, Steadicam, an early version of that. It's you connect it to it, and then it has like this kind of robot arm, and you move the camera on that. That way, they're able to do like this is a long tracking shot of him walking down the road. You can just see the streets of New York looking like just a riot's gone off. This was filmed in downtown St. Louis. Actually, there was there was a big fire, and they had to shut down a bunch of the city because it just was unlivable. So like it wiped out a big chunk of the city. So then they had to find an old airplane, like a huge commercial, passenger plane, and saw it in half, transport it to downtown St. Louis where nobody lives, and then like set up this whole scene. And that's why it looks so real and amazing. Like now you would have to do all this with CGI. It would cost so much to try to recreate this. Speaking of recreating this, they've been talking about doing it forever. For a long time, I think, who was it? Gerard Butler was supposed to play him. I still hear rumors that could be a thing, but yeah, the remake of Escape from New York, I don't know if I'm in on. I'll watch it just because I'm curious. But did you guys ever see Doomsday? I felt like Doomsday was it was a tribute to everything, Mad Max and stuff, the post-apocalyptic ideas of the '80s, but there was a different Escape from New York vibe to that as well. So here Snake finds his little presidential pulse reader thing and he sees the president's alive. So he's going to check it out and see if he can find him. And there's a real controversial scene coming up here. We'll talk about it when we get to it. Yeah, I love the once again, this is supposed to be in way in the future, 1997. So we're almost what 30 years past that. Um, so then Snake is walking around trying to find him, and he sees this old what do you call it? A theater, the Fox Theater, it says. And he goes in and he sees much like prison, all the people who are trapped in there have decided to like do things to keep themselves entertained. So there's this like bizarre all male review, all singing, all dancing, just fellas on stage doing the can or whatever. And I believe we're coming up on Buck Flowers here as well. Cabby and Buck Flowers soon. Snake's gun is ridiculous. Like he holds it and he carries it like a pistol, but it's like that big. It's humongous. You can make your own phallic symbol jokes at home. Silencer, scope, handheld like Mac 10 or whatever the hell that is. I don't know how he has time to keep his beard so perfectly trimmed with like a one guard. You know, that 5 o'clock shadow is immaculate. It's always 5 o'clock. It's hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So there's Ernest Borgnine jamming out to the weird review. Like I said, it's a bunch of dudes dressed up in like old, I don't know where they found this like vintage 1880s garb with like big bloomers and stuff. But they're putting on this crazy review, and there is a Carpenter cameo. There's a band in front playing, a little orchestra there for the crazy review. And one of the guitarists is Carpenter. You can kind of see him. He doesn't look at the camera, but you can tell which one is him right away. So here's the part I was talking about. It's kind of controversial. He's in the theater watching the dudes dance around like women put on their old school cowboy show, and he realizes that it's in the basement. So he takes the little presidential tracker thing, and it's like I say, it's funny because his technology's so janky. It's the old school beep, 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 beep. Just one red dot, looking like Coleco football. So he heads downstairs and he kind of walks by, and there's like three dudes like sexually assaulting a woman. And normally the hero of your movie stops and like, hey, that'll be enough of that. You take your hands off that lady. Snake Plissken's like, there's no concern to him. If I don't do what I need to do on time, I'm gonna die. So I just gotta ignore this. And he just keeps walking. But a lot of people don't like Snake because of that. I think that kind of, to me, makes him like sort of the Han Solo anti-hero, the old school Clint Eastwood cowboy, like I say. Yeah. Some things just aren't my business. Oh, let's see here. Our friend Davey Deathray is here. Dang, you really are a night owl. Kudos. What time zone? I am in the Eastern time zone. I live in Tampa, Florida. I used to be in the Central time zone. The bulk of the catalog of my show is from that because I used to live outside of Chicago. But now I am down where it is right near the devil's butthole. It is 1,000 degrees all the time. Hoot hoot! Welcome, my friend Patrick, Half Cheetah Will View. Patrick, what are your thoughts on Escape from New York? Glad to see you, my friend, the little baby owl. Yeah, what part of the country are you from, Dom? Yeah, these days, like I say, I'm in the Eastern Time Zone, Tampa, Florida. I'm a couple miles away from Hulk Hogan's surf shop, uh, right near the ocean. So very different from me. I'm used to being up north in the woods and the trees and the forest and lots of snow, and everybody's like, cold enough for you? And instead, here it's just like you go outside just to check the mail and you break a sweat. You like taking the garbage out is just you burst into flames. So here he walks in and he's found the president. He's got This guy's got the wristband on, and I know Patrick's here. I know he'll appreciate this. And you can see it's not some, he's being held down by this giant goon who's just punching him in the head, and it's almost comical, like how thud, thud, thud. So he realizes that the guy with the wristband on, getting his head busted open, isn't the president. It's Buck Flowers. Hey, how are you doing? Patrick says, Escape is my favorite Carpenter film. Oh, that is a nice choice, Patrick. Yeah, Kenny fucking going to Tampa, eastbound and down. Yes, it is very much eastbound and down type of place. Um, yeah, the dude behind me in the gas station the other day, I turned around, perfect mullet, the like razor sunglasses, lime neon green shirt. Wow. So here he explains to Hawk, I found the president's tracker, but the president's not attached to it. So I don't know how I'm going to find this dude. So I'm coming home. And they're like, if you try to climb that wall to get back in here, we will burn you off of it with a flamethrower. So here's the aforementioned commercial I mentioned. Oh, and it's only 30 seconds. Oh, okay. So that's not bad. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, probably at the, uh, we'll find out in a second. What are you guys guessing? We're at the half hour mark, 45-minute mark? A half hour. Yeah, Patrick, I don't know what my favorite Carpenter movie is. It might be this. They Live is pretty awesome. Um, okay, so yeah, we're at the 37-39 mark, 37-40, 41 for those of you listening along. This is also one of the main reasons I love this movie. This becomes literally the thinking man's action movie. Like he runs into this problem where he doesn't know what he's going to do next. How's he supposed to find the president in Manhattan? Like within a day. So he doesn't know what to do. So he just starts walking. And he's thinking to himself, and he goes over to this rubbled out like building that's just completely destroyed. Looks like something from World War II. And he's looking at the egg that the president crashed in, looking like Mork from Mork. And he's just like completely confounded. So he grabs a chair and just walks over and sits in it and just starts thinking. Like most action movies, they don't do that. They don't have time to think. They have all the answers. They're perfect, but it's like, no, a snake needs a second to just think here. What the hell am I going to do next, man? And it's a cool hero shot. He sits down and kind of, licks his wounds a little bit, and you can see him and trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen. And it's good because it lulls the story. Like it also gives character development, but it lulls the story. So when the stuff in the background starts going on, these weird people running around, it turns into like a zombie movie right here. There's a bald dude. I'm not sure if it was Michael Perryman. That's what he looked like. But yeah, this now all of a sudden this movie turns into a zombie movie. It's one of the many great parts of it. The freaks that come out of the sewer, like freaking Michael Jackson's Thriller or whatever. Like these dark, wet roads. By the way, this is another one that falls into the classic trope because you have to of if you're going to shoot roads at night, they need to be wet. No matter what's happened, no matter how long ago it was it rained, every road is wet. So yeah, once again, here we are. All the streets in New York looks like a fresh rain just happened, even though a fire is everywhere. That was a weird scene. Kurt would end up marrying Susan Hubley after this film. Yeah, yeah. This one is actually this is where it's coming up right now. Um he's sitting down, and then the zombies or whatever, the street people start coming out of the sewer, and the manhole covers move, and like I say, it's like Michael Jackson's Thriller or something. Suddenly it turns into a zombie movie, and he goes and hides in chock full of nuts. And then when he gets in there, yeah, his wife Susan Hubley was in it. Later on, he famously hooked up with Goldie Hawn, and I believe the two of them never got married. I think that was their thing. They never wanted to be married. They just wanted to be in love. And they're still together now, I believe. They make those Christmas Chronicles movies. And here's another classic, Snake Plissken. I thought you were dead. Product placement, yeah, for chock full of nuts. I've only ever seen one or two of those out in the wild. One was in a mall. I remember one time I was walking around and I was like, "Hey, chock full of nuts." I almost want to stop just because. So here's a big glamour shot. We see Snake with like the moonlight on his face, and there's like all these shadows, and he looks cool as hell, and he gets to do his like Clint Eastwood routine, talking to the aforementioned Season Hubley. She's interesting. The women characters in this, like the what it would take to survive as a pretty woman living in this, environment or whatever. You see what Adrienne Barbeau does later, but Season Hubley looks like she's just kind of like crazy punk rock Harley Quinn gangbanger. And this is where she's like met him for 2 seconds. She's like, "Take me with you, Snake." Like, dude, back off, thirsty ass. Hello, Daily. Owls wear eye patches. Yeah, I suppose. If you don't give a hoot. That's what I told the start of the show. I'm dressed up as Nick Fury. Snake from Metal Gear? Exactly. I'd love to do another stream with you again someday, Don. You can even pick up the movie, the day and the time, anytime in the future. Alien stream we did was on my old channel that got terminated. Yeah, I couldn't figure out. I was looking for. I was made a bunch of playlists. Thank you, Sean, for leading me into that. I was made a bunch of playlists on my channel, and I went through and I did like all the franchises. The Alien movies, Predators, Nightmare, Friday, Terrifier, Halloween, yada yada, um, and all the directors and the decades and everything. So when I was going through doing the Aliens playlist, I was looking for that watch along on your channel, and that's how I eventually figured out your channel wasn't around anymore. And that's when I put two and two together that your new channel was indeed a new channel and not a name change to your old channel. I'm slow sometimes. I'm like Columbo, and now I've got one eye. So, geez, life's rough for me. So here, once again, back to the zombie movie. I dig this. They're in the chock full of nuts, and she's like, "Take me with you, Snake." And then arms just start busting through the floor, and they grab her and just pull her down into the floor. I was like, he had a love interest for like 30 seconds. That's another thing about Snake in this that's kind of great. He doesn't have any kind of love interest to sort of make him human. He needs to be in love with a woman to show he's not so cold and awful. He's got some sort of weird, like, chemistry, sexual tension thing with the squeeze, Maggie, later on. But other than that, yeah, he's not, he's not trying to race to save Jennifer Connelly from the bad guy or whatever would take place in a modern movie. And yes, Sean, I would love to do something with you again, buddy. I've been there's a whole bunch of stuff I've been meaning to watch. I'd love to have you on. I've been thinking I need to do more collabs with folks. That was one of the things I frequently did before. It's a great way to introduce folks from the community to my audience, and it's a good way to have somebody else to BS with. I enjoy doing these alone because I'm so damn long-winded and talk so much. I feel like that when I have a guest, sometimes I have a tendency to ask them questions and get to know them and get their thoughts on the movie instead of just my rambling. So it's a good thing I need to do it more. So here Snake is running away. Once again, something your hero in your movie generally doesn't do. Run away! Run away! He sees all these people, the crazy from down under terrain people bursting through the floors, and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna run away. There's plenty of valor in escaping. And that's where Ernest Borgnine saves him. Cabby. And then when he gets in the cab, that's when we hear American Bandstand. And then that later on plays an important role in the movie. It's the old Chekhov's American Bandstand. If you introduce a cassette tape of Dick Clark dance music, actually, I think it's Benny Goodman or some shit. But if you introduce a jazz number in the first act, it's got to come back in the third act. And we see right away Cabby's cool as hell because he picks Snake up and then he just throws a Molotov cocktail at the bad guys and drives off. It's like, oh, you're down, Cabby. All right. Right. Ernest Borgnine was so cool to see. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. I'd like to see. I wish Borgnine was like Pleasanton in all the Carpenter movies. We need to do Clash of the Titans. Oh, I'm assuming you mean the original Harry Hamlin classic with what's the owl's name? Whatever. Bupo, right? Something like that. But with Pegasus and all that, the old classic. Yeah, I love me some Clash of the Titans. I saw the new one, didn't really, well, new one, like 15 years old or whatever. What was it, Sam Worthington? I saw that one and it didn't do it for me. And not like the same way the young one captured my imagination with the weird, the demon man and the princesses. And there were so many good fantasy movies back then. I was trying to convince my kids the other day to watch Neverending Story. They don't make stuff like that before. It all has to be Harry Potter and stuff now. Maggie was a great female character. Carpenter does like strong women in his films. Yeah, and Barbeau and him, apparently they were married. I don't know. There's weird. Their relationship is strange to me. But yeah, Barbeau in general, just anything she turns up in, I'm a fan of. She's great in Swamp Thing. She's awesome in Creep Show, right? And it's weird because like the early part of her career, she was on what, Maud or whatever with B. Arthur. And that's like what a lot of people knew her as, is like the annoying kind of like complaining with B. Arthur lady. And then later on, it was like, no, 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 that Adrienne Barbeau, she's a dish. So here they Ernest Borgnine is taken to see Brain, Harry Dean Stanton. And it's like so perfect with casting once again. Harry Dean Stanton is like, he seems like the brain and he plays like very smug, like he's smarter than everyone else. Like Harry Dean Stanton does that in every one of his movies. So this is just like perfect casting. And he lives in the public library because he's Brain. And like, the going up to the steps of his house and these giant pillars. He looks like this Roman, I don't know, it's a very like it's almost like the Wiz or something. It's like we're on this big grand adventure to gather together all the pieces we need. And now we come up to this giant castle where we have to gather our wizard. And once he goes in the library, you see the brain has like an oil derrick in there, and that's how he's making the gasoline that makes the cars run. So apparently there's oil underneath New York that's people haven't found yet. Barbara was a fantastic actress, so charismatic and fucking right. Well, yeah, yeah, I agree. And speaking of that, here she is. The cabbie bangs on the door with his shoe, and she comes walking out, and she's got kind of the hubba hubba dress on. And immediately, Snake Plissken, I thought you were dead. She did a lot of guest TV spots. Yeah, she, like I said, I think the first time I ever really paid attention to her as a kid was in Swamp Thing. Yeah, I like the idea of collaborations instead of streaming all the time with the same people because you might take things the wrong way if you can't make it every week. Yeah, yeah, that does become an issue. It becomes an obligation. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Even with the way I've treated my channel, I don't I don't really plan things out more than a day. Like lately, I've been trying to give people a couple hours heads up that I'm going to be on, but in general, I just do it when I can do it, and I don't want to make set up a live stream and not be able to be there or whatever. So yeah, the obligation of it sometimes can take the fun away from it. I've thought about going to that system where it's like, every whatever, Sunday and Wednesday or whatever, do a show at X time. And it's just like, yeah, I don't think I could pull it off. I sort of like the spontaneity of, I think I'm going to do a show tonight. I feel like watching a movie with my friends. So yeah, there's the big oil pump in the background. And Snake Plissken only stands in hero shots. Like even there, he's gonna go just like holding his gun. Like his posture is like he's standing for a portrait. There too, another awesome hero shot. Harry Dean Stanton's just standing there, and it's kind of low angle, and it pushes in on a dolly. Like here's the brain that we've been waiting on. And of course, he has like the science coat, because why he's clearly smart. He has a lab coat on, and he has pens in the pocket. And then this weird, crazy tie. He looks like friggin' Mark Twain, Colonel Sanders or something. Oh, Echo. Hello, Echo Zero. Cha, cha, cha. Welcome to our friend Echo. Echo, I owe you an apology. Um, the other night when I was doing the show, Jason mentioned Trauma Week when you showed up, and I was like, "Oh, Jason's doing Trauma Week." I thought a bunch of people were doing that. So then I realized, oh yeah, Echo had the Trauma Week going on. I knew it was going on. So right now, check out our buddy Echo, and I think Professor Macabro's in there, the Ginger Ninja, who's in the chat lurking around. I believe he also is participating in it. So shout out to Echo. I Sorry I missed your plug the other night, my friend. I'm easily distracted while I'm trying to read and watch movies. Now I got one eye. It's even more ridiculous. I actually like how random you are with these streams. There's been times late at night where I couldn't sleep and can figure out what to watch, and bang, Donna's live with a movie. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I people have a tendency to drop by and check out and just see if I'm around. Like, well, let's see if Don's up, because not too many folks around this time of night. I know you've been doing more of a late night stuff, so yeah, maybe we can even do a later stream, maybe an hour earlier for me, so I can accommodate you a little bit. But um, most of the time when I do collabs, I can't do the late night stream because folks just aren't up at 1 in the morning to talk movies. My British folks are just getting up usually, so they're not wide awake to be talking about Escape from New York. So here, Snake is trying to convince Harold, or the Brain, to take him to see the Duke of New York, a number one, because everybody knows the Duke's got the president. And this is another one where we're told we're going to go see the Duke. And it's like, well, what's the Duke? Who's the Duke? And it kind of builds up in your mind, like, well, what's the Duke going to be when we get to him? And then when we eventually see him, it's like, perfect, with like the big applets or whatever on his shoulder. Once again, like I say, very Wizard of Oz. Here's the four of them all walking shoulder to shoulder down the steps. Yeah, it does kind of remind me almost of The Wiz taking place in New York. Hobbs, Professor Jen, and even Jim, who came out of retirement, did a couple of trauma videos. Oh, awesome! I would offer to do one, but the only problem is the main ones I know. I'm sure everybody's done. You know, the uh, the uh, the original now, which feels weird to say, Toxic Avenger. Let me know your thoughts in the chat or the comments on the new Toxic Avenger. I'm curious. Um, but and what's the other one? The not Class of 1984. What's it called? Whatever. The one where they run. No, the one that people over with the cars. The Toxic Avenger. Well, anyways, that and Sergeant Kabuki Man are the main ones I know, and it's like I'm sure those have been wrapped up already. I feel like anybody anywhere should have to see the first Toxic Avenger movie. So here we see the Duke's Caravan, and this is classic movie moment right here. This is the most pimped out ride in the history of pimped out ride. Like when they say pimp my ride, they're all trying to copy this. Instead of headlights, he's got two chandeliers on the top of the front of his car, and then the backs are all jacked up and stuff. He's just got like the most hood fabulous rides ever, but they're also kind of built for war, sort of Mad Max style. And his has a big disco ball in front, and then the hydraulics, go up and down so you can get in and out. Because even living in a like awful prison hellscape, for the rest of your life, if you can have a car, might as well pimp it out, right? So here we see Romero is riding around with the Duke, and they both get out, and we get a good look at Isaac Hayes, and he's just like standing there, another hero shot. This movie is like classic hero shot movie. If you stand a character up and you like push the camera in very slow just while they're thinking, the audience feels like, yeah, that's a badass guy or whatever. Same with when people have their back to the camera for a long time and then they finally turn around and reveal their face. It's like a hero shot. The audience is like, ooh. And this movie is just jam packed with hero shots. All the main principal characters get their second or two to just look badass, so it feels like a big movie. This came out. This is in Carpenter's big string of hits. He did Halloween, and then he does this, The Thing, and what, Christine, all like right next to each other. Apparently, he had issues after The Thing, like when that was the first time he did worked with like a big studio, and they in particular didn't kind of like the way he handled things and thought he like went over budget, was dangerous with crew members and stuff. Like I guess a bunch of crew members got sick in like the frozen coolers that they shot a bunch of the scenes in and stuff. So here we see them in Brain's car, and he's got like the Chevy Chase Griswold family truckster, and it's got a bunch of bars over the windows and stuff. Like I said, everything's Mad Maxed out because it's a, once again, he goes down the street and gets attacked by a gang of people. There's someone's head on a spike to help let you know what kind of world we're living in. And here's the part, this is kind of an awesome scene where he's driving and they get caught up with all like the street people trying to like slow him down, and they keep coming out from nowhere and banging on the car and rocking the car and shooting flaming arrows at it. This movie is like such a big adventure. And it's all real and practical, which I think is part of the reason Escape from LA doesn't quite do it as much for me as this one. Is so much of that looks fake. Like the scenes with him surfing look very fake, as far as like CGI, um, rear projection. That's what I'm looking for. Geez, I drew a blank. Sorry. When my hero in the movie's in the middle of a riot, I have trouble thinking. Um, so yeah, a lot of that stuff looks fake, as where all of this is just like super, I don't know, real. They put a bunch of old cars in this abandoned street and then set a bunch of buckets and stuff on fire. So he gets to the end of this road, and there's just a bunch of cars piled up, and he can't get out. So now he has to turn around and go back against the grain of all the people who just attacked him while he was trying to come through. Once again, very um, Mad Max Fury Road. We take the car this way, and then we take the car this way. Except he turns around and goes ass first through the giant car barricade. Oh, Snake, he's always thinking. That's what I like about him. Um, Oh, the fog, then escape. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot the fog. I was thinking there's a third one in there. I'm like, what's the third one? I remember there's Escape from New York, The Thing, and there's one more I'm missing. Yeah, the fog. The fog and the Thing are two sort of relatively low, or the fog. The fog and Escape from New York are two relatively low budget ones, and the Thing's a higher budget one. And the higher budget one sort of derailed his career. And then after that, he was supposed to do Firestarter, I guess. And because of the problems he had on the Thing, he lost Firestarter. And then he wanted to do something Stephen King really bad, so he ended up doing Christine. I don't know. I think my least favorite Carpenter is probably Memoirs of an Invisible Man, but Ghost of Mars is close. I see Cheetah says he needs to check out Ghost of Mars soon. Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch it. I remember the first time I watched it, I was real disappointed, and I watched it again about 10 years ago, and I was just like, it's just I don't know, it just feels like a bad movie to me. Everything's very heavy-handed, and the music, like the punches of the score are slightly more obvious. They don't feel natural the way this one does. A lot of the acting is very stiff and wooden. The effects on the monsters have never impressed me. But it's one of those things where as it grows with time, maybe I'll go through and watch it and be like, I love it. Um, what was the one he did, The Ward, about the is that Amber Heard trapped in the mental home? That one I wasn't that big of a fan of. It was all right. It was nice to see Carpenter do work again. I never really dug Village of the Damned. That's another one that's like Ghost of Mars. It's very heavy-handed and soap opera-y. Like it feels almost like a parody of a movie. The when the music kicks in and the way the actors act, it just feels bizarro world or something. As where all of these Prince of Darkness, I never got into, but I always wanted to because so many people I know whose opinion on film I trust a lot, respect, like folks I respect, say Prince of Darkness is really good, worth checking out. But every time I've watched it, it looks great and it doesn't play. It plays like this. It plays really well made movie. It doesn't feel like a badly made movie. But I can never understand what the hell's going on. Like I kind of get it, but I don't know. It feels like a Clive Barker story or something. It's way out in left field on a bunch of its ideas, so it's hard for me to like follow it from beginning to end. The sets look like 70s era Doctor Who. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Mouth of Madness. Oh, I love In the Mouth of Madness. That was one. We need to do that on the channel sometime and just discuss it in depth. But um, Yeah, that's one. The imagery in the marketing, it looked like around that same time, The Serpent and the Rainbow came out, and the image of Bill Pullman with like the cross on his head, looking like a zombie in a coffin and shit, was like super powerful, and people loved it. So then later on, when they do In the Mouth of Madness, and he's got like the little crosses all over his face, and he's painted crosses over every inch of his mental, his padded room. It just looked so exorcist and spooky. So like it was scary as hell before you even saw it. And then once you realize it's this whole man going into a Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft story, and I don't know. It's fantastic. I really do. That's an excellent pick. And of course, it's made by our friend Ben Grimm. Welcome, Ben. Nice to see you here. I always enjoy when Ben drops by. Ben's super smart, knows all about the movies. Village of the Damned feels like a Lifetime Network movie or something, right? I saw it in the theater, and then I saw it when it came out on home video, and then I've watched it on cable several times, and I watched it again, like I don't know, probably 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and it's just so, yeah, like Christopher Reeve feels out of place. Who is it, Kirstie Alley or something? She feels out of place. The kids are creepy, but not much more creepy than the old school black and white version. Um, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, I haven't seen in years. I saw it as a kid and hated it, and since then, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that. I believe that was the one that broke Carpenter as far as trying to work with studios. Um, Also, Starman is an interesting one. I would like to go back and watch Starman again. Um, Apparently, after he made The Thing, he felt like, The Thing sort of says aliens are bad and evil, and he also wanted to put out into the idea into the world that maybe the aliens are good, like in The Day the Earth Stood Still. Um, so he wanted to make like a nice alien movie, like E.T. or something. And he also felt like The Thing was heavily undercut at the box office by E.T. coming out. He's got evil, scary, take over your whole body and become a monster alien. And then Steven Spielberg's got like this lovable, huggable, merchandising monster alien. Oh no. So yeah, later on he made Starman to make the nice alien movie. So I'd like to kind of go back and watch it. I love Jeff Bridges. And who's the woman in that? Karen Allen, maybe? But yeah, I'd be interested in watching it again. Christine, I watch all the time. I see that shit too much. Mhm. I read that Sutter Kane. Fans would eat that up too. S- Do you read Sutter Kane? They're making a theater version of The Stand. Really? Yeah, I watched obviously the old original Gary Sinise ABC miniseries, the Mick Garris one. And then I watched the one that they remade for Paramount Plus or whatever with oh god, what's his name? Cyclops from X-Men and Whoopi Goldberg and I can't remember who else was all in it. But it was really good. I kind of prefer the old one, the Corin Nemec one. Our friend Patrick has had Corin Nemec on his show. He plays an awesome role in that original First Stand. Um, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the remake. I would be interested in seeing a theater version, but at a certain point, they're just making it too much. I'm a JC enthusiast and have to own all of his movies, but I wasn't thrilled when I bought that one. Yeah, like I say, the top level Carpenter is as good as anybody. Like The Thing, The Fog, Escape from New York, In the Mouth of Madness, They Live. I love They Live. They Live is amazing. The top tier Carpenter is as good as anybody, and then the bottom tier Carpenter, it's like not a big fan. So here we're building up to um, they capture Snake. And then here they've got the Duke has Snake's gun, and he's shooting at the president and making him say the famous line, "You're the Duke of New York, a number one." And they've got Snake held hostage, and they took his shirt off, and you can see that he's got the giant like cobra coming up from beneath his belt line, thus letting you know what Snake means. I love a movie that goes out of its way to make a complicated dick joke. So here you see Brain and Maggie slowly creeping up on the Duke of New York, hey, number one. And Romero just makes every one of these scenes. He's like this pale, skinny. I don't know. He looks like somebody out of a zombie movie. Looks like a cross between Timothy Olyphant, Michael Biehn, and a zombie. Um, Zelda from Pet Cemetery. But he's got like this crazy big blown back hair, and just in the backgrounds of all the scenes he's in, like where he's just hanging out there, he's like chewing up the scenery. You can just watch the whole movie and pay attention to whatever Romero's doing. And Isaac Hayes is cool as hell. You couldn't pick a better person for this role. Like he looks like he would kill you, but at the same time, he doesn't feel unhinged or anything. He just looks very plotting and angry. Let me see what's in your briefcase. Yeah, Romero looks totally Mad Max. He looks like something out of Road Warrior. He's got kind of the canvas thing. There, he walks up to the president and combs his hair back, and then that's where we see that in the president's briefcase is the tape, the one that he has to deliver to the summit, or the whole world will fall apart. This would be what's called a MacGuffin. Uh, in every movie, pretty much, especially a movie like this, there's what they have. It's called a MacGuffin. Alfred Hitchcock, I believe, is the main person that pushed out what that is. It's the thing that the people in the movie care about that we don't. So, like in Pulp Fiction, the briefcase is the MacGuffin. You know, everybody's trying to get that briefcase. Everybody wants to see what's in it. They want to possess it, and our hero is trying to get it. You know, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Lost Ark of the Covenant is the MacGuffin. You know, it's the thing that makes the people in the movie do whatever the hell it is they're doing, and to us, it doesn't matter. You know, that would it be different if the Lost Ark of the Covenant was the Shroud of the Turin or whatever? You know, doesn't matter. So this one, the tape with the president's big speech, which I've never understood. The president himself has to go to this big summit and then play a tape for people to listen to, and it's a tape of him speaking. It's like, why don't you just go and say it live then? Why do you have to be there live if it's on tape? But I digress. Sean says he feels like Romero might be related to Beetlejuice. He does look like, you know who he looks like is the dude in Beetlejuice with the little tiny head. Like that's sitting there. He looks like that guy. Patrick says, Chef. That's right. Hello, children. Um, and well, I'll have to do some video work and gaming. Have a good stream. Thank you, Echo. And once again, check out our buddy Echo's contributions to Trauma Week and all those who are contributing to Trauma Week. Echo's an awesome dude. He's also a buddy of mine from day one. Echo was there on my very first stream, and I actually streamed with Echo before I ever streamed on this channel. So me and Echo be streaming together. We're some streamy bros. Ben Grimm says, you ever see Lockup about a guy sent to a space prison to retrieve the president's daughter? Carpenter sued for infringement. It definitely copied, but I liked it. Lockup, is that the one with Stallone and Schwarzenegger? Or is that the one with Guy Pearce? I don't remember. Or is Lockup a different one? Carpenter won that lawsuit. Uh, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because I love it. I went to a horror convention in Chicago because I wanted to meet John Carpenter and get my picture taken with him. You know, Carpenter's. There are certain people in my childhood and growing up that just feel like cornerstones. You know, like big pillars of what I'm into. And when I was younger, it was Rod Serling from Twilight Zone, Hitchcock, and then later on John Carpenter, Stephen King, and Joe Bob Briggs. So meeting Carpenter was a thing I had to do. So I went to this convention in Chicago, and he's super cool guy. And I had him sign a little poster of The Fog that I have. And I previously mentioned Tom Atkins earlier in the stream. And he looked down at Tom Atkins' autograph and he says, who's this on here? And I was like, Mr. Tom Atkins, really super nice guy. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm not. And I was like, oh, I beg to differ. And he kind of looked up at me and sort of smiled. And then, like, with his eye that was facing away from the line of people waiting to get his autograph, he kind of gave me a grandpa wink. And I was like, oh, John Carpenter's my honorary grandpa now. No takebacks. So I even have a picture of me like getting something signed by him while Carpenter's kind of looking grouchy, and then the next picture is like Carpenter looking up and giving like a little sneaky smile. So yeah, to this day, I'm always like John Carpenter's the coolest dude ever. You gotta admire a man who's just sick of the way Hollywood works, so he likes to sit at home and smoke weed and play video games and watch basketball. Like that's his big hobbies in life. I think he's into muscle cars and stuff, but other than that, yeah, he pretty much just sits home, plays video games, watches basketball. So here, after finally we get to it, he's been captured by Duke of New York, A #1, and they're gonna make him fight like a gladiator fight in against Ox Baker. And they bring him into this little stadium, like I say, gladiator, and there's this wrestling ring there, and they bring him in under the guard of Crossbow. You know, that nothing says I'm a badass more than a badass person than having like three or four people around you with a crossbow. You know, you are a danger to all. So here Snake has to fight Ox Baker with one eye. Ox Baker is an old school professional wrestler. He like I don't know, I think he was big in the 60s and 70s. Apparently sometime in Cleveland, him and I think it was Ernie Ladd had like a big fight and it turned into a riot. Um I guess when they filmed this, Ox Baker was kind of rough. He's a big Jesse Ventura looking mug, is what he looks like. He looks like a cross between Ming the Merciless and I don't know, John Goodman or something. But yeah, he looks like Jesse Ventura. He's got these crazy eyebrows and big wild goatee and a hairy back. And I guess Ox Baker was rough with Kurt Russell when they made this. You know, he's trying to protect the business of wrestling and not make it look like they're a bunch of pansies. And so he wants to, really put his hands on Kurt Russell and rough him up. So I guess Kurt was like, well, once I let him know that it wasn't really cool to do that, he chilled out. But um, later on in the scene where he dispatches of Ox Baker, he's like, yeah, you better believe I got my revenge in for the times he was a little bit too rough with me. There's a part later where Kurt Russell takes a baseball bat with a bunch of nails in it and he slams it into the back of his head. And then the dude stands up and walks away. They did it by putting a board on the back of his head and then they lean forward. He takes the baseball bat, a real baseball bat with nails, and slams it into the board, strapped towards the back of his head. So yeah, he got his receipt on Ox Baker. JC still loves to make music too. Yeah, the music thing he's been doing a lot of that. Thank you for bringing that up, Sean. He's been traveling around. He was back where I was living near Milwaukee. Uh, he was traveling around doing him and his son, like, they have a band and they play the Carpenter classics. It's kind of what do you call it? A Trans-Siberian Orchestra kind of thing. They travel around and they play like the hits, and there's usually montages of his movies playing while he plays some of the themes to the movies. And then, of course, he has to play some of his original stuff, but it's like your favorite band. It's like, no, play the hits. I don't want to hear your new work. So here I never noticed this before. The ring posts on the ring they're fighting in are like steam pipes and they have flames burning out of the top of them in each corner. This HD transfer, this is really good for this movie because it's so darkly lit that you want the best possible resolution to see everything. Uh, Guy Pearce was the other one. Okay, thank you. That's the one I thought. Yeah, I saw the Guy Pearce one. I still have never seen the Schwarzenegger Stallone one, whatever that is. He did a Lucille before Negan did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was very new. And Dave Chappelle. He's supposed to have a video game come out this year called Toxic Commando. Carpenter, really? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like I say, he's very much into video games, and then a lot of his stuff has been adapted for video games. The Thing, I remember for PS2 way back then. That one he calls the unofficial sequel to The Thing, and in that one they show that Kurt Russell lived and Keith David died. Um, so in his opinion, that game is canon, and I know he's had other stuff from his movies adapted into video games. I'm surprised they don't make a Halloween version of that horror game that they make with like Friday the 13th, and I think there's maybe a Leatherface one too. So here's where Brain and Maggie go and free the president. They've got the president tied up and he's all dressed up in a wig and they're just like totally degrading him and stuff. It's kind of an amazing movie, like as far as, you know, the first thing the criminals do is take hold of the president and then like demean him and shoot at him and beat him up and stuff. So here, the bat fight continues, him and Ox Baker, and he realizes that one of the dudes outside of the ring has his like Wonder Woman bracelet to call Bob Hawke after he gets the president. So he's basically starting to formulate a plan. He's like, all right, I got to beat this dude, go get the president back from the Duke, then press that button and get to Bob Hawke. Once again, ticking clock. He's got to do it in 24 hours or whatever it is because the little things in his neck will explode and he'll die. So here they're walking through this old, so much of this movie is amazing to look at. Like they're walking through this big old empty ballroom looking thing, and it's all just a destroyed world. That's one of the things I like about The Dark Knight Rises. Also available in the catalog of fine watch-alongs to check out on the Night Owl Movie Talk homepage at YouTube. In The Dark Knight Rises, after everything falls apart, you just see like the federal buildings and stuff are just destroyed, and things are lawlessness sets in and everything falls apart, and it's kind of awesome. At least visually. I'd rather not live in it in real life. But for a movie, hell yeah, bro. So there's the bam. He hits him in the stomach and the dude bends over and then he takes the bat and just hits him right in the back of the head and it sticks. That's how they get that awesome shot where the dude's bent over and the bat just there's like a board on the back of his head and he slams the nail into the board. Imagine you got to do that pretty gently too, because otherwise you have to go in deep enough for the nail to stick, but not so deep that maybe the nail goes through the board and knocks Baker's head. So there, he reaches over the ring ropes and he presses the button to let him know, like, "Hey, I'm trying to get out of here." And the crowd starts chanting, "Snake, Snake, Snake." I mentioned earlier, Escape from LA has a lot of the same beats as this. This is in Escape from LA. He plays basketball. Like I mentioned, Carpenter's a big basketball fan. And it's this like ticking clock thing where he's got to make so many shots and points and however time. And he makes like a full court Steph Curry shot at one point. It's just absolutely absurd. Here he's got to fight in a gladiator thing to the death, and the other one he's like got to make a bunch of trick basketball shots. That's I want to like Escape from LA because I like the whole Bruce Campbell thing with him being the plastic surgeon and all of that. I like the thing with Pam Grier being a trans person. I like all of it. But the stuff with Cuervo Jones, is that his name? Like he looks like this Che Guevara looking dude, and he's convinced the president's daughter to, be his. It's like a Patty Hearst kind of thing. So here we're pushing towards the climax. We've got 118. There's 20 minutes left. Um, but this is where it all comes to the head. He goes and rescues the president. Then they all get in the car and they drive across the bridge and the bridge is bombed, and that's like this amazing scene that's built for video games right there, trying to drive a car across a mined bridge and there's all these like cars in the way and the bad guys are chasing you. Bunch of just classic action stuff done real low budget, and it ends up, you know people copy it over and over. A bunch of the modern day, well, I should say modern day, all the action movies that come after this have use a lot of this stuff in it. So there the plane that almost crashed off the edge, the sand people, basically, that's what they look like, Tusken Raiders. All the like people who bust up from the floors are up there and they push the glider off the roof. So just no chance of making the glider work again. So here's where they fight them off, and there's just a classic scene here. I don't know how this works. They go downstairs or through the elevator, and he goes to start a car and drive away, and the car won't start. And he pops the hood, and the bad guys have taken the motor, the engine, everything's out of the hood, and there's just a guy in there with a crossbow. Like, how did you do that? We have our ways. Ha ha ha. So here, the brain's got the diagram of the bridge. Part of the reason the brain's important is because he's the only one that knows where the mines are located. And here, the president explains he lost the tape, and the tape's part of it. You got to have the president and the tape. This is all a plot of a video game. You got to get this, this, this. You got to be here by this time. Up, time ran out. Yeah, once again, these buildings that they're going through just completely covered in graffiti and old paper, and little tiny fires burning everywhere. It's an amazing world to see. Wouldn't want to live in it, but to watch a movie about it, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, here he is. He gets in this little tiny compact car. He's like, "Oh, it won't start. Let me see if I can do anything with the engine." And they pop the hood. There's just a dude in there with a crossbow. I wasn't expecting that. And there's the Duke. Give us the president, Snake. Hello, children. Hi, Chef. So you can tell that the brain is fancy because he's got patches on his sleeves. He's both a professor and a scientist. And one of the things that makes the bad guy so formidable, he's got the good guy's gun, that big, super ridiculous monster gun I mentioned earlier. And Snake shoots at him a couple times and sets off some steam because, of course, that's what happens. Nobody dies, steam goes off. And they go running out of the inside of the World Trade Center. And I believe, yeah, here comes Cabby. Chekhov's Cabby, listening to Chekhov's American Bandstand. Move over, I'm driving. Okay, that's an excellent Clint Eastwood impersonation you're doing. I've seen this movie so many times, I now recognize the graffiti for what gangs. It's like there's a weird skull one with horns. Their logo pops up a lot. They must be very popular in the future prison. So Cabby reveals he's got the president's tape. He traded Romero for it. And Snake listens to it for a quick second and realizes, yeah, that is the president's speech that he has to give. I still don't understand why the president has to take a tape of him speaking to people. Whatever. So we got 23 minutes left. Ticking clock. How much real time in the movie? 16 minutes in real time. So let's see where they lose the extra minutes. I bet they're going to shave a little bit off on the drive to the bridge. But this is super climactic. You build the story, build the story, build the story, then you get to the final arc and the exciting climax. What's better than this guy driving on a bridge full of explosives? We got our big Wizard of Oz cast with us. Everybody's here and alive so far. Our future prison Lord of the Rings crew. And then this is super cool. They got the camera mounted on top of the taxi, and we get to see like a really kind of funky angle. Looks almost very Brian De Palma experimental shot of, and it's like a first person car view. It's kind of dope. And a few of the explosions go off here and there. And when we see Isaac Hayes, he is like completely pitch black, but he's covered in sweat and blood, and it reflects. So it's almost like this, I don't know, like Red Skull from Captain America or something. And then there's the point of view of him driving his car, and you can see the big like chandeliers dangling as he drives and swerves and avoids explosion. And he's got this weird tick, like the snake's getting to him, so he's kind of developing like a twitch in his eye. That or he's sweating so much it's dripping in his eye. But he's only got, is it just him in his ride? And then Snake's got Cabby, Brain, Squeeze, and the president. Sorry. And then there, they run over a mine and the cab explodes in half. I have no idea how nobody in the car died, but just the cab cuts completely in half, like they sawed it with a chainsaw or something. And the two halves split apart and they do the check, like, oh, you okay? You okay? So there we see everybody survived. The people in the front half of the cab and the people in the back half of the cab all survived. And then Snake has Brain has the classic line, "I said jog right, asshole." Our friend Have Cheetah, or our friend Mr. Bones is here. Welcome, Bones. Nice to see you. Hey, bro, did you get an eye infection from Mike Hunt? No, Mike Hunt is always clean and very, very tasty. I don't know what word I was supposed to use there. Very sanitary. Surgeon General. Um, uh, Look away, guys. Don's about to climax. I am about to nut. Also, if you like the thing where his neck could explode, you should watch Nick Cage in Prisoners of the Ghostland, where he has an outfit with lights by his nuts, and if he gets distracted while on a mission, huh? Interesting. Um, and gets too frisky and his nuts blow up. Wow, that's insane. Don, I thought you were dead. Matt, you always know the right thing to say. That's actually what Mrs. Night Owl said. I disappeared and I came back with this on, and she was like, "Huh, I thought you were dead." Hello, Matt, our friend Pugwall316, part of hashtag 3BB, one of my main mans. When we were talking earlier about people I need to do live streams with, I need to get together with my friend Matt and collaborate on something. If nothing else, and just to have an excuse to hang out and talk with Matt and then disguise it as content. Brain gets drained, right? But yeah, this is where it's kind of a touching moment. Like, we see Brain's dead, and then Maggie doesn't really know any other life than to be with Brain. So she walks out and she's got, the sexy shirt on, all low cut with the big giant, 70s blaxploitation boobs. And she's got the big giant gun and she's just standing there badass looking like I say, like the cover of a poster from an action movie, like a Hard Ticket to Hawaii or Malibu Express or some crap. Um, um, so she just straight shoots at the Duke, and the Duke drives right into her and slams into her. And I guess when they originally filmed this scene with her looking all badass going face to face with the Duke shooting at him, we never saw a shot of her body. Like, it's just presumed she's dead when he runs into her. So the studio was like, we need a shot so we know Maggie's dead. The audience doesn't know if she lived or died after that. So I guess Carpenter had her come to his house and they filmed that in his garage. Like, he parked his car a certain way and they put a bunch of trash around her and put some blood on her, and that was an extra pickup shot that they shot in his garage. Here's how another trick shot. Well, it's not a trick shot. It's a classic stunt move. They do a body double. The president and Snake. After Maggie sees that Brain's dead, she goes and fights the Duke, and she gets dead. And Cabby's gone. Uh, But then the president and Snake go running towards the wall to get into Liberty Island so they can escape. And when we see Snake, they well, first they take the president up, of course, because he's the important one. They lower a rope, they pull him up through with a winch on the front of a Jeep. So, and that shot right there, that's really cool. This big wide shot of both our heroes standing on the rubble, and then here comes Isaac Hayes with a machine gun. 1 minute 32 left on the ticking clock before the things in his neck explode. Speaking of the necks explode, they also stole that for Total Recall and for a movie called Deadlock, I think it was, with Rutger Hauer. It was like the same type of deal. Just there's explosions in your neck, and if you get too far away or whatever, we just blow your head up. There was the classic setup. We see Snake disappear from the pile of rubble he was standing on, and then when the Duke runs up, he kind of looks around all confused, like, where'd he go? And then Snake climbs up in the foreground and just jumps on him like, ah! Once again, Snake not always doing the hero thing, he's doing the smart thing. So Snake's getting pulled up by the winch, and he's about to be brought over the wall. And the president shuts down the winch and takes a machine gun and shoots the Duke while screaming, "You're the Duke of New York, hey, #1. You're the Duke, you're the Duke." And it's supposed to be like the president has had this mental breakdown and he's like totally insane after this experience and stuff. But in a minute, he's fine. He's totally back to normal. He's getting makeup put on and, "Oh, we're very proud of the contribution you've made to your country," or whatever the hell he says to Snake. So here, the snake gets pulled up the wall, and then in the turnaround shot, we see Snake being lowered down the wall. But this is a stunt double, and there's like a Jeep parked in front, and Snake drops, and he hides behind the Jeep, and the stunt man disappears, and the real Kurt Russell comes out from behind the Jeep. So here's classic Snake. He's just holding his leg because he's been shot with a crossbow. He's bleeding, he's sweating, he's mad, his head's about to explode, and Bob Hawk wants the tape. And dude deactivates the thing, and there's this like release of just tension. There you go. That's it. And we turn and we watch the ticking clock go down to zero, and there's even still a thought of like, is his head gonna explode or how's it gonna happen? And Snake's fine. Nice, nice. Um, let's see. Matt says 3BB for life. Cheetah says, bring back the cat house. Mr. Bone says, 3-man band. Yeah, we pretty much were. Um, hey, Matt, hello. 3 big boobs, total recall? Hello there, caveman. Boutique boobs. Caveman's here. Is that Guy? The Guy, I'm sorry I missed you, buddy. Hey there, everyone. Don, nice eye patch. Please hit the like button. Thank you, Guy. Our friend Caveman's a hilarious dude, cool guy. He's into collecting physical media and a bunch of other stuff. So be sure to check out our friend Guy. Uh, but yeah, I'm sorry you snuck by me there while I was talking about Matt and Snake Plissken, two of my favorite things. Hey, Sean. Everyone, please subscribe to my friend Sean here. Oh, yeah, the new Cinephile World Order. As I mentioned, Sean is rebuilding his channel. He's been around forever, but his old channel got deleted and he's rebuilding from scratch again. So Lee Van Cleef, aka the Master. Yeah, I mentioned the Master earlier. I grew up on that show. That show got popular right around the time the show Kasugi movies got popular and all that ninja craze like took over. You know, every TV show had ninjas on it after a while. And Lee Van Cleef was teaching stupid Timothy Van Patten how to be a ninja. Two white guys riding around in a van. And it was another rip off of the Incredible Hulk. It's like we go somewhere, we get in trouble, we have to leave. You know, the A Team was like that too. It's like, well, we just travel around helping people, and then when things get too hot, we go somewhere else and help more people. So here, he's going to talk to the president. He sees the president's a total ungrateful douchebag, and he goes stumbling over to Bob Hawk. And of course, the ground is like just drenched. They've freshly hosed it all down so the lights will reflect off it. And I was talking about hero shots earlier. Van Cleef is against the wall, and he's got like eye light. His face is totally dark, but there's like a strip of light across his eyes. For people who are into making movies, the way you get that is you have someone stand just off frame with a damn flashlight in their face. Like that's how you get that thing. Same with the twinkle in the eye. People always want the little gleam in the eye when you see a close-up shot. You almost always get that by somebody standing there with a little pen light. So there, that shot of Lee Van Cleef looking all like film noir, super dark with a band of light across his eyes, like friggin' Citizen Kane or something. So here, Donald Pleasance explains that he's going to present this speech he gave in the hope that our great nations may learn to live in peace. And he pressed play, and it's Cabby's American Bandstand Dick Clark tribute. And then, yeah, Donald Pleasance just sells this so awesome. Like he's got this like Benny Hill or something. And then there we that's the part where Snake goes over to Bob Hawk, and he um Bob Hawk says like, "You gonna kill me now, Pliskin?" And he goes, "Call me Snake." Or no, he says, "You gonna call me Snake? You gonna kill me now, Snake?" And he says, "Call me Pliskin." And then there it is. We see Kurt Russell walking off, pulling the tape out of the cassette because he pulled the old switcheroo on the president. And then we go to fade to black, white title cards, just like the beginning. Awesome Carpenter score. For some reason, all the there's John Strobel played Cronenberg. Romero is one of the characters in this too. Carpenter's real good about shouting out his buddies. But for some reason, the character names and the credits are all lowercase, and all the actors' names are uh, caps lock. So that is the amazing, great favorite of mine from lifelong enjoyment. Escape from New York. Uh, Kurt Russell, he won me over with this. He solidified how much I love him with Overboard and Tango and Cash, and then things like Tombstone and Bone Tomahawk. A Miracle. He one of those actors that I just love. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh hell yeah, Kurt Russell. Um, anyway, so I thank you for watching this with me. Like I said, it's one I love. I enjoy everyone being here. Shout out to Matt and to Sean and to Guy and to Patrick and Anthony Chabot was here earlier, and my lovely better half Kayla was here. Shout out to her. Sean says Snake trolls the hell out of them. Yeah, he does. That was a goofy show. It was. Um, so yeah, shout out to all of you for hanging out with me, and go ahead. Actually, I'll leave this on while I wish you green grass. Well, no, I can't say it till it's almost done. Anyway, so thank you so much for joining me. I was awesome having you here. Be sure to check the channel. I'm going to try to do more live streams, and I've been cranking out shorts and videos and all sorts of stuff. Since I've been back, I've been full back. So give the Night Owl Movie Talk catalog a look. And be sure to check out the merch. I pinned the link at the top of the chat as per usual. It's usually the first comment in the comment section. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, all the other things that people are supposed to do. And I thank you for joining me. You are fantastic. I can only wish you green grass and high tides forever. Adios, my friends.